Hello again, everyone. Deflect here, Firm but Fair Gaming. I want to bring a new video to you on meta and what I think everyone perceives meta is incorrectly. So everyone perceives meta as like this is the meta DPS. This is the spec to be. Everyone should be this spec. We'll use Enhancement Shaman for instance. Enhancement Shaman, by the numbers, is the top DPS in the game. It is, cranking out here averaging or top run is 2.6. Everyone perceives that it's S tier. It's listed as S tier on every single site. It's the one that, everyone's doing, everyone's running, everyone has an enhancement shaman. Enhancement shaman by itself, without, we'll take the group out of it, is not the best DPS. The reason enhancement shaman is the best DPS is group composition. So when people perceive meta, the meta should be because of the group composition is the best, and it really only applies to those people pushing the 17, 18, 19, 20s, the 0.1% of groups. It's even higher than 0.1 because every class in the game, every class, will take Devastation Evoker because it is the worst class ranked in the game. And the top Devastation Evoker is doing 15s and 16s. So, going through everything like that, every class in the game can do 15s, no problem. And they are running, I don't even know if you can see what they're running, but the Devastation Evoker in a 16 ran with, it's loading here, ran with a Frost EK, a Resto Shaman, a Prop Paladin, and a Frost EK. Double Frost EK, Devastation Evoker, time to 16 missed. So not a meta composition. So every class in the game can do 15s and possibly 16. So you're talking to the 0.1% higher. And that's why the perceived meta, I think, is crazy for people to only invite meta specs. And again, I'm going to show you why the meta spec isn't exactly true. It's not the spec that's meta. It comes back to the group that's meta. The meta group, Enhancement Shaman, Aug Evoker, Frost, Disc Priest, Prop Paladin. Now, Frost can be changed for Frost DK, Balanced Druid. You can throw an Assassin Rogue. The third DPS is kind of up for grabs. But the core group, Prop Pally, Disc, and Enhancement Shaman, Aug Evoker. That's the core group. You'll see other ones run. There's your Enhancement Shaman, Aug Evoker, and sprinkled in is a Mistweaver. That's one Mistweaver because they're extremely good. But that's the group, and there's reasons why they're running that. Enhancement Shaman, I bet you in this group, if they had Sims, I guarantee this Enhancement Shaman is not simming as high as this Enhancement Shaman. And the reason for that is PI. Enhancement Shaman is not the top DPS on its own. But because it has a 2-minute cooldown window, it works very well with PI. And the Elemental Shaman that has a 3-minute cooldown window does not work as well with PI. And that is why Enhancement Shaman is the meta DPS. It's because of the group composition, not the class specifically. And to show that, I actually crunched all the numbers. These are the top simming characters in each spec. Simmed for single target, 5 target, 10 target, dungeon slice. Each character was simmed 4 times. And highlighted in green, I didn't highlight the dungeon slice one, but I guess if I want to do that, it is 1, 2, and 3 right there. Which is fun fact right there. Isn't that great? I only highlighted the top 3. And then you can have the rankings, which will be the average ranking of a class. So, Enhancement Shaman. This is no buffs, no PI. This is straight raw DPS. Enhancement Shaman is only in the top 3 in 5 target. That is all. And it is in second place behind Elemental Shaman. Elemental Shaman, however, has a 1 and 2 spot in 10 target. It crushes Enhancement Shaman. And the winner in 10 target overall is Balanced Druid, who is almost 2 million DPS higher than Enhancement Shaman. Oh, this now shows without any buffs, a balanced druid should beat an enhancement shaman if you're averaging bigger pulls. Now I didn't sim the gap in here at 8 targets, but you know, you're gonna have a lot of 5 target and a lot of 10 target in dungeons when you're pulling huge, like Dawnbreaker and stuff like that. And you can go more in depth to this, but this is just a guide, like not a guide, just the raw numbers to show that everyone's perceived meta spec isn't just meta because of the spec. So, one of the best simming ones right now is Outlaw Rogue. It wins the Dungeon Slice and it wins single target. You want to go, the top 3 Dungeon Slice sims are all rogues. And then you can go and do different ones and see the average ranking where they top, like where they averaged the rank. The winner is the worst DPS on Archon at Devastation Evoker. It averaged only a 6.3 average ranking in everything 5, 10, and single target. So, by that mathematics, on average ranking, this should be your best DPS in a dungeon. But because unfortunately that's not how it works, and I did not sim the average numbers for DPS, but I will get that eventually. This is not the best class. You'll see another one is Balanced Druid. Fire Mage is up there. Frost Mage is a 7. Outlaw Rogue is a 7 for average spot. Elemental Shaman is a 7. So they're all really kind of close there. But by the average ranking, Devastation comes in as the champion. Now, the going through that, and we'll go through and look at some of the other items here that play a little factor. So their throughput they have for DPS, the average is 2.3. These are all done with Warcraft logs, so this includes PI and all that fun stuff with the buffs. They have the top 3 specs. This is old data because this doesn't update very quickly. And this one kind of updates enough, but you can go by average, you can go by top. You can see the tier. This is the DPS, this is the run. And you can see which one is ranked where. It is interesting to see different classes. Here's a meta class that's one of the best, Frost Mage, and it's all the way down here. They have it ranked as C tier. So again, meta becomes the group composition. Frost Mage can bring slows and all that fun stuff, so your tank can get out while there's, you know, bleeds and damage on it. It just, they play well together. And that is the biggest part about meta, is it comes down to the elite players pushing the spec to do certain things and what will be the best for the dungeon composition. Prop Paladin right now is the best tank, and that is one because they have amazing and the only tank that can kick and sustain kick targets. They have I love how they have F tier rankings. This is just this week's run so far, so this will change, but Brewmaster is actually up here. It's B tier. That's funny. They actually have huge sustain DPS as well. Like their DPS is just nuts on a Prop Paladin. So not only can they're the only tank that can like control mobs and packs, which is the biggest thing in M+, and you'll see that every single time, as long as it survives the same, the tank that can control mobs the most will be the meta. It happened in Dragonflight with Vengeance Demon Hunter that just could lock down mobs by itself. It's happening now in the War Within with Paladin because it's the only one that Shield Toss counts as an interrupt. So it's the only one that can multi-interrupt. Demon Hunter still has a silence, but the interrupt will stop the cast and not have them cast again. And that's the only one that can do it. So that is why it's meta, along with its damage. And it actually is pretty decent surviving now that you can have lay on hands yourself, get extra armor, and use bubble with forbearance. Pretty cool combination to survive. But healer is a lot to do with throughput and a lot to do with survivability, because Disc Priest right now, before they get reworked, because they're getting shit on next patch, unfortunately, the double pain suppression is crazy. Trying to stop damage from going out. It's one of the best ones at doing it. And they are able to put pain suppression on the top DPS. Like Enhancement Shaman is pretty squishy. They're bringing in Aug Evoker for helping survivability, but they can double pain suppression. So they can put one on the Enhancement Shaman, one on themselves, one on the Enhancement Shaman, one on the Aug Evoker. They have shields, they have Rapture, all that stuff to prevent the damage, because you can't heal someone who is already dead. So Disc Priest, very good pickup for meta right now, but this will change. You know, like I said, they're getting shit on next next patch unless things change. So my biggest takeaway for people who made it this far in the video is meta is not a spec. Stop just bringing, if you're not doing plus 17, 18, 19, stop just bringing the meta DPS is my recommendation. Bring someone who is good at their spec. Someone who has good IO on a Feral Druid, on a Devastation Evoker, you know, BM Hunter, something that they have good IO, you know, Demo Lock. They all can do fantastic damage. So don't be afraid to bring these ones who know their class, who didn't just switch to Enhancement Shaman because it was the flavor of the month. Enhancement Shaman is an extremely difficult spec to play. You have to manage 2 different dots, with your Flame Shock and your Lightning Rod. You have like 3 different DPS windows. For Doom Winds, you have a different DPS window. For Ascendance, like, it's very crazy to try and get everything done. So it takes a long time to master. It's probably one of the hardest specs in the game. Yes, the top end players can do it pretty quickly, but they've probably played it before because Enhancement Shaman has been good for a while. And you know, if you're bringing it to your plus 14 key, the Enhancement Shaman might not be great. Because, again, it's a hard spec. And you're working on, like, it's a cross between Windwalker and Fire Mage. You have to spread your Lightning Rods, and then you're fishing for procs too, because your procs you have to hit at the same time, and then you have your 2 or 3 different DPS windows. Like, it's very, very complex spec to play. So, the odds are, if they just switch to it, they probably aren't the best at it. And you might get more DPS out of a Devastation Evoker. Pretty simple rotation. It does great damage, like I showed. You'll get more DPS out of a Ret Paladin because it's got a 30-second window. And if you mess up a Ret Paladin's cooldowns, your cooldowns are coming up in 30 seconds. I don't know how you mess it up. You only really hit 2 buttons. And then throw in occasional Judgment and Hammer. It's a pretty simple spec to play. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty simple. You can pretty much shut the brain off. Got great survivability. You bring a bunch of things to the group, and that's probably why it's one of the most played specs in the game. Fairly simple rotation, fairly easy to do good damage, and just play like this one. It's a lot more complex. So, like I said, if you're looking to grab a spec to play, always look at some other ones. If you're looking for your group, check out other DPS other than just the meta DPS, and then see what they can do. So, if you have any questions, as always, leave a comment below. Like, share, subscribe, deflect, Firm But Fair Gaming. We'll see you in the next video.